Ravi is going to share with us all as to how we all can receive that free gift. Without further delay, let's all give a warm welcome to Brother Ravi Narasimhan.
Hi everybody, you can hear me now. Wish you all a Merry Christmas. And what I'm about to share is a little deep, so I want you to pay a little bit. I should be on the speakers. It's getting low. Yeah. So what I'm going to share is a little bit deep, so I want you to pay a little bit attention as we do this. But if I do a proper job communicating it today, many of us can go with this living water as a gift. Yeah? Alright. So what is the living water? We know water, we drink a cup of water, and you swallow it, it gets in, and if you're thirsty, you drink some water, it quenches the thirst. In the same way, living water is what is required to satisfy the spiritual thirst. All of us innately are looking for spiritual things, and God alone is able to satisfy the spiritual thirst. Sometimes, we think money or job satisfaction or success can satisfy and take its place. But sooner or later we'll find out that that will never take the place of spiritual satisfaction. So today, I want to share about how the living water can be received as a free gift. And before I do that, I just want to maybe start with a simple story. In my life, I was, like Vijay was mentioning, I was looking for God for many years. And I in fact wanted to read about Jesus to prove that Jesus was just another teacher, like my other teachers, like the yoga teachers, and martial arts teachers, and others. And so I started reading the Bible. And as I was going through the Bible, I was only reading the biography of Jesus. I've asked some of my friends, I think Santanam and Narendra ji and also Shweta ji, to help me with a couple of verses here. I'll mention when you can read that passage. So I was starting to read and I tried to explore the Bible, and I came across a story. So there was Jesus was walking across a village, and he was actually walking into an area where typically people avoid. Like in India too, we have some places like that where people don't even want to go to. But Jesus is casually walking down there, and he's just resting. A lady comes by in the afternoon to draw some water. As she comes, Jesus is saying, "Woman, can you give me a drink?" And the lady is shocked. She's like, "Wait, you are a Jewish person and I'm a Samaritan, and you are a man and I'm a woman, and you're like asking me for a drink?" And she's like really saying, "Why are you asking me for a drink?" She's kind of really questioning him back. Then Jesus says, if you knew the gift that God has for you, that is the main theme here. If you knew the gift that God has for you, and you would ask me, and I will give you living water. And the woman is saying, "Wait, this well that we got here is centuries old. You think you got something better? You don't even have a bucket to draw the water or any rope. You're going to give me something better?" And Jesus says, and this is when I want some help from some of our friends here. And Prem, if you can put the verse on the screen so I don't have to mess up anything. And we're going to read it in a few languages, like Indian languages also. And Jesus is saying, anyone who drinks this water of the well will soon become thirsty again. But those who drink the water I give will never be thirsty again. It becomes a fresh, bubbling spring within them, giving them eternal life. This is actually what Jesus said to her. And I want to bring in our Indian flavor here a little bit. And so I wanted to see if Santanam, are you here? Yeah, Santanam, can you read it in Tamil, please?
Check.
Yeah, okay.
So I'll start from
Sure.
இயேசு அவளுக்கு பிரதியுத்தரமாக, இந்த தண்ணீரை குடிக்கிறவனுக்கு மறுபடியும் தாகம் உண்டாகும். நான் கொடுக்கும் தண்ணீரை குடிக்கிறவனுக்கோ ஒரு காலம் தாகம் உண்டாகாது. நான் அவனுக்கு கொடுக்கும் தண்ணீர் அவனுக்குள்ளே நித்திய ஜீவகாலமாய் ஊறுகின்ற நீரூற்றாய் இருக்கும் என்றார்.
And now we're going to try and read it in Hindi. Shweta ji has agreed to do that for us.
उसको उत्तर दिया, यीशु ने उसको उत्तर दिया, जो कोई ये जल पिएगा वह फिर प्यासा होगा, परंतु जो कोई उस जल में से पिएगा जो मैं उसको दूंगा वह उसमें एक झरना बन जाएगा जो अनंत जीवन के लिए उमड़ता रहेगा.
And then Narendra ji has agreed to read in Telugu. We are reading it in multiple languages because I think this is, if you forget about everything else today, about anything I'm saying, just remember this piece. Go ahead.
అందుకు యేసు, ఈ నీళ్లు త్రాగు ప్రతివాడును మరల తప్పికొను. నేనిచ్చు నీళ్లు త్రాగు వాడెప్పుడును తప్పికొను. నేను వానికిచ్చు నీళ్లు నిత్య జీవమునకై వానిలో ఊరడి నీటి బుగ్గగా ఉండునని ఆమెకు చెప్పాను.
Thank you. So when Jesus responded like this, the woman understood. And maybe she didn't understand fully, but she knew it was something better than what she has had, because you will soon find out why she needed the living water. And she said, okay, if that's the case, give it to me, so I don't have to keep coming to this well. And then Jesus said, okay, why don't you go bring your husband? And she said, no, I don't have a husband. And Jesus says, yeah, that is true. You've been married 5 times, and now the person that you're living with is not your husband. She gets offended. She's like, wait a minute, like, how does he know all these things about me? He says, oh, you look like, you're a prophet. So tell me, why do these people worship in that mountain, the other people worship in some other mountain? Like in India, you have like Varanasi or Tirupati or, different places where people worship. So she's saying, well, those people worship there, these people worship there, they have different gods, all these things. And Jesus responds to her very simply, saying, believe me, a time has already come when you will worship the Father in spirit and truth. When we say the word truth, it is universal. And Jesus is saying it is not about these locations. Let's not get worried about those things. This is about worshiping God in a relationship. And obviously the woman is still, he kind of caught me on the spot here. She said, well, you don't have to tell me these things. I know God is coming. He will come and live here and he'll tell these things. And then Jesus says, I am he. At that moment, the Jesus disciples come back, and the woman is, the Bible doesn't explain a lot of things, but what she does is, she leaves her bucket, and she goes and tells everybody, hey look, could this be the person that we're all waiting for? And when I read that passage, a few things really surprised me. All along in my life, I've been looking for God, trying to satisfy my spiritual thirst. Yeah, I did other things too, like to satisfy material and other satisfactions in life. But I was spiritually running after things. And here comes this Jesus saying, this is a gift already there. The gift exists. I'm ready to give it to you. But you got to come and interact with me, and let's have a relationship, and in the process I will hand it over to you. And then my first question in my mind was, okay, this is great. And I actually at the point after reading this passage said, okay, fine, that's the case. I'm a Brahmin, I'm from a Hindu background, and I'm not a Christian or anything like that. Jesus said, it's about a relationship. And then, what qualifies Jesus to do this? Why is Jesus qualified? When we talked about this cup, and I don't know if you already saw this or not, our cups are like this. Can you see me through this? We got a lot of holes in this. Our life is like that. Any of us who are authentic enough to admit it will know that our life is like this. It's got a lot of holes, and you'll see a lot of people through this. Our life is like that. And the reason it is like that is innately we are sinful. And those patterns actually drain out any potential spiritual availability that we have in our life. And once it drains out, we are empty. So many of you at times, may sit down, when things are going great, we don't think about this. But maybe sometimes we'll think and say, why is my life empty? I wanted to maybe, get a good job, get married, have children, maybe do all these things. But why is my life so empty? And that is because of the innate sin nature. Now, in our culture, we use the word karma. And we know that, our theology and others tells us that, we're going to reincarnate like maybe millions of times to overcome this karma. It is that complex. And there is no way that we're going to be able to do this. No human is able to reach that high to solve this problem. But what you see happen is the baby who was born in a manger, God coming to earth, He came to become a sacrifice for us. That is how much He loves us. Because He knows we're all trying. We all try and work at it, but we can't do it. So God has to come down and become a sacrifice. So essentially what Jesus is doing is, yes, you got a very life that is like full of holes. Like that's me. And Jesus comes and says, I have come and paid the price for it. Now we become ready to contain this living water. Now as you read this passage, you see, the living water is not something that just, you pour it and then it drains off, right? It's like, it is actually a perpetual, bubbling, fresh water, welling up to eternal life. So imagine, like some of us would have watched this in India. You go to some place where you have like a spring that's coming out. People keep drawing the water, it keeps on coming, right? And some of our rivers are like that, where it's just coming from the spring. And Jesus is saying, He's actually able to do that for us as a free gift. Because He gave His life for us, and because He Himself becomes the wellspring in us, it qualifies Him to make this happen for us in our life. So with that said, what would it take for us? What would it take for us, maybe even during this Christmas, to receive this gift? We saw the video of maybe saying, hey, let's maybe compromise one gift that we're going to get and give it to some poor people who can be benefited by that. But maybe let us replace that with this unbelievable gift that God has got. The unbelievable gift that each of us can have is living water overflow from our life. So what does it take? A couple of things. Look at what happened to the woman. She had a discussion with Jesus. And Jesus actually is pursuing each one of us. And at some point He wants to say, hey, I want to give you this living water. Come. But we are usually saying, no, I'm busy right now. And I've done that myself, So I'm not trying to say this as you. I'm saying, I have done this myself. I've done this for many years.